Hey everyone, this is the second video of the series. In this section, we will be focusing on listening. In listening, we usually have these types of questions, just four. Those are multiple choice questions, match the following type, and there will be diagrammatic form of questions in which you might have a plan, a map, or a diagram which requires some sort of labeling, and sometimes you have forms you need, sometimes you have sentence completion as well. So we will explore each type of question in this video. Let's start with the first type of question, that is multiple choice. In this, you just have to listen to the audio and try attempting the questions. A very important point that you need to understand here is the audio will be played only and only once, and you don't have an option to pause the audio or to repeat it. So be careful and be attentive when the audio is being played. Now I will play the audio. Listen to the audio, pause the video, try answering these questions, and then watch the video.
Okay, right. Now, obviously, insurance is an important thing to consider, and our companies are able to offer very good rates in a number of different all-inclusive packages.
Sorry, could you explain a bit more?
Yes, sorry. There's really three rates according to quality of insurance cover. There's the highest comprehensive cover, which is premium rate. Then there's standard rate, and then there's economy rate. That one will only cover the cost of the contents second hand.
Oh, I've been stung before with economy insurance, so I'll go for the highest.
And can I just check, would you want home delivery or to a local depot, or would you want to pick it up at the nearest port?
The port would be fine. I've got transport that end.
Fine. And will you be paying by credit card?
Can I pay by cheque?
Okay, I hope that you listened to the audio and attempted to answer these questions. Now let's start with the second question. So this one. So the question is, the customer wants the goods to be delivered to. The three options are port, home, and depot. In the audio, the customer clearly stated that he want to pick the goods himself at the port. So the answer is port. So the answer is pretty straightforward, where the customer directly told that he want to pick up at the port. But when it comes to the first question here, this one, the type of insurance chosen by the customer did not utter the word economy, standard, or premium. He did not say anything at all. None of the options are said by the customer. Rather, he said he wants to go for the highest or the best insurance out there. Okay, and the lady who's selling the insurance perhaps told that the best insurance policy they can provide is the premium one. So the answer is not direct unless you understand the speeches of both the customer and the sales lady. You cannot answer this question correctly. You need to understand both their speeches. So the first question here is indirect. The second question is direct. Okay, as I mentioned in my introduction video, that's the previous video, in the listening section, as we proceed further, the difficulty will be in increasing order, meaning the first section is very easy, second is a little difficult, and so on. The fourth one is the hardest among all. So in the first section of the listening, you will have more questions that are direct in nature, where you'll get the answers directly from the speech. like the second question. You will have more and more questions of this direct format in first and second sections. But when you are in third and fourth sections of the listening, you will have more and more questions of indirect format, like the first question here. So that's how there will be the increasing difficulty in those sections. You will have more and more indirect questions. Only when you understand the entire speech, you cannot answer the questions correctly. Now let's proceed with this second type of questions. Now we'll proceed with the second type of question, that is matching. We have 4 questions here and 5 options to choose. We just have to listen to the audio and try matching the right answers to these questions. Before trying to attempt this section, few important points that you need to keep in mind is always read the questions and the answers beforehand, even before listening to the audio. Once you do that, when you start to listen to the audio, you will be focusing on the right points automatically because you have already read all those questions. What I mean by that is when you read the options, the Bridge Hotel, the Carton House, the Imperial, etc., beforehand, and now when you proceed to listen to the audio, whenever you come across the Bridge Hotel word in the audio, your mind will automatically pay attention to that point, to that specific audio, and it will be easier for you to grasp the points there and correctly attempt these questions. And another important point, the audio and the questions 99% of the times will be in linear order. What I mean by that is in the audio you will find the answer for the first question first and second question second, and it will 99% of the times it will not happen that you will be listening to the answer of the fourth question first. Almost it never happens. 99% of the times it never happens that we'll come across the answer for the fourth question at the beginning. It never happens. 99% of the times at least. So the audio and also the text, the questions are in the same order. It's a very, very important point. Now just go through these questions and the answers, and I'll start playing the audio. Listen to the audio and attempt the questions as soon as you listen to the answers. Don't wait until the entire audio is done. Try attempting the answers in the same sequence. As and when you listen to the answer for the first question, attempt it. Don't wait. Because if you are waiting to the audio to get completed, you will run out of time, and also there are higher chances that you commit mistakes. Now I am playing the audio. Listen to that carefully and try attempting your answers.
You will hear a man talking to an official at a tourist information office.
Can I help you?
Yes, I was wanting somewhere to stay for a few days, a 4 or 5-star hotel. Can you tell me something about the possibilities?
OK. Right, well, there are 5 hotels that might interest you. Were you wanting a city centre location, or would you be interested in something a bit further out?
Well, I do have a car, so I could go for either.
Well, there are 2 central hotels in the range you're looking for. There's Carlton House and the Imperial. They're both near the main square, but if you've got your own transport, you might be interested in the Royal Oak. That's out in the country, about 10 kilometres away. Very peaceful. Then there's the Bridge Hotel and the Majestic. They're both in town, but not in the centre. They're out on the airport road.
That might be a bit far out, actually. OK, now the other two you mentioned in the city centre. Can you tell me a bit about them?
Well, they're both excellent hotels. If you want something with a bit of character, Carlton House is quite unusual. It's a very old building that was originally a large private house. It was bought by the Vannies chain, and they completely refurbished it. They took their first guests just a few months ago, but it's already got an excellent reputation. That's a 5-star hotel. Or there's the Imperial, which is a much more modern building. That also has its own gym, and it also has internet connection and meeting rooms. It's used for conferences and corporate events as well as private guests. That's 5-star as well.
Does it have a swimming pool as well as a gym?
No, the Royal Oak has an outdoor pool, which is lovely in the summer, but the only hotel with an indoor pool is the Bridge Hotel. It doesn't have a gym, though. The Majestic is planning to build a swimming pool and a fitness centre, but it's not finished yet.
I see. Well, I think I'll probably go for one of the city centre hotels.
Alright, I hope you tried attempting these questions. Let's start answering them. Let's start with the bottom, starting from the 4th question. So the question is about the indoor swimming pool. Which hotel has an indoor swimming pool? In the audio, it's clearly mentioned that the only hotel with an indoor pool is the Bridge Hotel. So the answer for the 4th question is A. Now let's answer the 3rd question. Which hotel offers facilities for business functions? So this is the keyword here. If you listen to the audio carefully, there is no occurrence of the word business functions. The speaker did not say business functions in the entire audio, nowhere. But she mentioned about the Imperial Hotel is having meeting rooms, conferences, and it will also have corporate events. What does it mean by that? Those are all business functions. Okay, so the answer for the 3rd question is the Imperial. That is option C. Now coming to the 2nd question. So which hotel was opened recently? Opened recently. So that's the keyword here in the 2nd question. So again, there is no direct occurrence of the word opened recently. But the speaker told there is a hotel which is actually an old building, but after it was purchased by Vannes Group, it was completely refurbished and they took their first customer just 2 months ago. So they just opened their hotel recently, therefore they took their first customer. So the answer for this question is Carlton House, that is B. So what does it mean by taking their first customer 2 months back? That means that they just opened it recently. So that's why the answer for the 2nd question is Carlton House. And the 1st question, which hotel is in the rural area? Okay, again there is no direct occurrence of the word rural in the entire audio, but rather the audio has there is a hotel which is in the countryside, which is 10 kilometers away from the city center, and it is very peaceful. So the countryside implies it is in rural area because it is 10 kilometers away from the city. So that hotel is the Royal Oak. That is option E. So there is no direct occurrence of the word rural, but there is a word countryside in the audio. That implies it is in rural area. As you observe here, except for the fourth question where the answer is directly in the audio, which doesn't really need any understanding of the audio, all rest of the three questions are indirect. The answer is not directly available in the audio. You need to understand the audio, only then you can answer them correctly. So these are the types of questions where you have few easy ones like the fourth, where the answer is direct, and there are few tricky ones where the answer is not direct, bit twisted here and there, right? I hope you got most of the answers correct. Let's proceed further with the next type of questions. Now let's start with the third type of questions, that is diagram labeling. Now in this question you just have to understand the diagram that is given and the options here, and once you go through the diagram and the options, we can start listening to the audio and try answering these questions. And before I proceed further, there are situations where you need to understand about the directions here, right? Things like uh, the map directions. Sometimes it's like north, south, west and east. It could be possible that sometimes you need these directions, but these are not given in the question. So you need to keep this map in mind. And for our situation, for this question now, you just have to understand the simple thing here. That's going this way is moving forward. Coming this way is moving backward, and this is your left and this is your right, because the arrow is given here. This is the entrance. So this way you are moving forward, all right, and this way you are moving backward, and this is your left and this is your right. Now listen to the audio and try attempting these questions.
You'll hear the librarian of a new town library talking to a group of people who are visiting the library.
OK, everyone. So, here we are at the entrance to the town library. My name is Anne, and I'm the chief librarian here, and you'll usually find me at the desk just by the main entrance here. So, I'd like to tell you a bit about the way the library is organised and what you'll find where. And you should all have a plan in front of you. Well, as you see, my desk is just on your right as you go in. And opposite this, the first room on your left has an excellent collection of reference books and is also a place where people can read or study peacefully. Just beyond the librarian's desk on the right is a room where we have up-to-date periodicals such as newspapers and magazines. And this room also has a photocopier, in case you want to copy any of the articles. If you carry straight on, you'll come into a large room, and this is the main library area. There is fiction in the shelves on the left, and non-fiction materials on your right, and on the shelves on the far wall, there is an excellent collection of books relating to local history. We're hoping to add a section on local tourist attractions too, later in the year. Through the far door in the library, just past the fiction shelves, is a seminar room, and that can be booked for meetings or talks. And next door to that is the children's library, which has a good collection of stories and picture books for the under 11s. Then there's a large room to the right of the library area. That's the multimedia collection, where you can borrow DVDs and so on. And we also have CD-ROMs you can borrow to use on your computer at home. It was originally the art collection, but that's been moved to another building. And that's about it. Oh, there's also the library office on the left of the librarian's desk. OK. Now, does anyone have any questions? Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay, I hope you attempted all those questions. For this section, I am not going to provide any explanation. Reason being, all the questions are extremely straightforward and you can attempt these questions directly listening to the audio. Therefore, I am just moving further. I will provide the answers here and you can evaluate your answers. So these are the answers for the question that we just came across. Now, moving further. So this is one more variant of the same type of questions where we don't have a map here, rather we have an image. And in this question, the most important aspect is the description that was provided for this question. It is clearly mentioned that you are not allowed to use any more than 3 words or a number, and or a number. Yeah, so even if you mix and match words and numbers, you're not allowed to go above 3 words. So 3 words is your limit here. So similar to 3 words here, you can also have questions where the limits are set to 2 words or even 1 word. If you did not pay attention to the heading provided for this section and you attempted blindly all the questions, you can go wrong just because of the number of words that you given as answer. For example, the heading clearly stated that you are allowed only till 2 words, but you answered in 3 words. You can go wrong. So for these sections, always pay attention to the heading and the description provided. Only then proceed answering these questions. Now just go through these questions once and the image, and then we can listen to the audio and try attempting these questions. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. There are 5 questions here. We have to listen to the audio and answer them. Okay, I'm starting the audio.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Thanks to all of you for coming along today to hear about how the Robotic Float project is helping with ocean research. Well, first of all, we'll look at what a robotic float does and its use. So let's start with the device itself. It looks a bit like a cigar and it's about 1.5 meters long. More importantly, it's full of equipment that's designed to collect data. So it can help us in building up a profile of different factors which work together within the world's oceans.
Sounds like a big project. Isn't it too big for one country to undertake?
That's quite true, but this project is a really good example of international cooperation. Over the last 5 years, scientists from 13 countries have been taking part in the project and launching floats in their area of ocean control. And next year, this number will rise to 14 when Indonesia joins the project.
That's impressive.
But let's move on to how floats work. The operational cycle goes like this. Each of the floats is dropped in the ocean from a boat at a set point and activated from a satellite. Then the float immediately sinks about 2,000 meters. That's 2 whole kilometers down in the water. It stays at this depth for about 10 days and is carried around by the currents which operate in the ocean at this level. During this time, it's possible for it to cover quite large distances, but the average is 50 kilometers.
So, what is it actually recording?
Well, at this stage, nothing. But as it rises to the surface, it collects all sorts of data. Most importantly, variations in salinity, that's salt levels, and the changes in temperature, a bit like underwater weather balloons. Then, when it gets back to the surface, all the data it's collected is beamed up to the satellite. After about 5 hours on the surface, the float automatically sinks, beginning the whole process again.
Okay, I hope you attempted all the questions. Now let's discuss the answers. So the first question goes like, the float is shaped like. Again, in the audio, there is no occurrence of the word shaped like. But the speaker said that the float looks like a cigar. What does he mean by looks like a cigar? Because it means it is just shaped like a cigar. Therefore, the answer for the first question is cigar. And the second question, scientists from Dash have worked on the project so far. In the audio, it was mentioned there are 13 scientists, international scientists from different countries are working in this project so far, and the next year it will be 14 because one more scientist from Indonesia is going to join the team. So since the question clearly asked scientists have worked on the project so far, your answer should be 13. 14 is a wrong answer because 14 is the next year's number, not so far. So 13 is the correct answer. Now proceeding to the question number 23. This is a direct answer. I just said it gets activated when it is dropped. When the float is dropped, it gets activated. So it's a direct answer. 23 is activated. Okay. 24th, average distance traveled. Here is a bit tricky number because the speaker said a lot of numbers. So the numbers that are explained in the audio are, when the float is dropped in the ocean, it will go to a depth of 2000 meters. So it goes to a depth of 2000 meters or 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers is the depth, and after it went to a depth of 2 kilometers, because of the ocean currents, it travels a distance of 50 kilometers. It is possible that you get confused and answer this question as 2 kilometers. That is wrong. 2 kilometers is the depth. 2 kilometers is the depth. This is 2 kilometers. But the distance traveled, this one, the distance traveled is 50 kilometers. Okay, this is the correct answer. 50 kilometers is the correct answer for this one. And going to the last question, 25. The float records changes in salinity and also changes in temperature. In the audio it is mentioned changes in temperature, but don't proceed to write changes in temperature as we are allowed to write up to 3 words. Don't do that because changes in is already mentioned in the question. So the only word that is missing out here is just temperature. Yeah. So these are the answers for this questions. I hope you got most of the answers correct. So this is the end of this type of questions. Let's proceed further. Now we are discussing the last type of questions, that is fourth type of questions, and that is form completion. Again, in this type of questions, always pay attention to the description or the heading that was provided. Here it is clearly mentioned that you're not allowed to use any more than 3 words. And now you just have to listen to the audio and try filling these forms or fill in the blanks. Pay attention, probably go through all the questions once, and now I'll play the audio and then you can try attempting the questions.
You will hear a telephone conversation between a customer and an agent at a company which ships large boxes overseas.
Good morning, Packham's shipping agents. Can I help you?
Oh, yes. I'm ringing to make inquiries about sending a container back home to Kenya from the UK.
Yes, of course. Would you like me to try and find some quotations for you?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I need a few details from you.
Fine.
Can I take your name?
It's Jacob Mkere.
Can you spell your surname, please?
Yes, it's Mkere.
Is that M for mother?
Yes.
Thank you. And you say that you will be sending the box to Kenya?
That's right.
And where would you like the box picked up from?
From college, if possible.
Yes, of course. I'll take down the address now.
It's Westall College.
Is that Westall?
Yes, college.
Westall College. And where's that?
It's Downlands Road in Bristol.
Oh, yes, I know it. And the postcode?
It's BS8 9PU.
Right. And I need to know the size.
Yes, I've measured it carefully and it's 1.5 metres long,
Right.
0.75 metres wide,
Okay.
and it's 0.5 metres high or deep.
Great. So I'll calculate the volume in a moment and get some quotes for that. But first, can you tell me, very generally, what will be in the box?
Yes, there's mostly clothes,
Okay.
and there's some books.
Okay, good. Anything else?
Yes, there's also some toys.
Okay, and what is the total value, do you think, of the contents?
The main costs are the clothes and the books. They'll be about £1,500. But then the toys are about another 200. So I'd put down £1,700.
Okay, I hope that you attempted all the questions. Now let's discuss the answers now. So the first question, what is the full name of Jacob? So not only he just told his name, he also spelled it out. So you should not commit a mistake for this question. It's Jacob Mkere. So Mkere. This is the answer for the first question. And for the second question, so the college name is here as Westall. So this one is West And now comes the tricky part, the postcode. Always be very, very careful when you're coming across numerics, especially long numerics, long numbers, long numbers. Okay, things like postcode, or mobile numbers, because you don't have an option to repeat the audio, and the speaker will only explain the number or postcode only once, and once you miss out of those numbers and the answer is gone, you cannot uh, attempt it correctly. And that is why I always recommend you to go through the questions first whenever you came across things like a postcode or a mobile number. So you should be extra careful to the point where in the audio you come across that number, and you have to be very attentive in those situations. In our case, we have a postcode, and the answer is BS89PU. So I'm repeating it again. Whenever there are long numbers, be it a postcode or a mobile number, you have to be extra careful, because if you miss out on one number here, maybe assume you missed out somehow on this number, you missed out on this number in the audio, and you wrote just BS8 and PU, your answer is wrong. And even in the case of 10-digit mobile number, even if you miss out on one digit, your answer is wrong. And let's proceed with the next question. That is question number 4. He said the width is not 0.75. Here the not means 0. Okay, in the audio you might have heard about something called not. That not means 0 here. Okay, again for the height he said not 0.5 meters. The not here means 0. And then the contents of the package or the box. He has some books and some toys. Here the order doesn't really matter, but it's always advisable to attempt these answers in the same order as you listen to them in the audio. So he said books first and then toys, so attempt in that specific order. In the audio it was said the books and the clothes cost around 1500 pounds, and the toys cost around 200 pounds. Okay, and the total comes for 1700 pounds. In this audio, the final answer of the total estimated value, that is 700 pounds, is clearly mentioned in the audio itself. But that's not always the case. Sometimes he will only mention about the individual prices, like books and clothes cost 1500 and the toys cost 200. He will not mention anything about the total amount or total value. But the question asked is total estimated value. In such scenarios, it's your responsibility to pay attention to the both individual values, and you have to sum those up and write the correct answer, that is 700. It's not always that you will find the total correct value in the audio directly. Sometimes you have to do this mathematical calculations. So be careful in those scenarios. And now let's proceed further with the next type of question of the same model of fourth model. This is one more type of question from fourth model, that is note completion. And in this one, again, it's important to read the heading. You're not allowed to write more than 3 words and or a number. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4 questions. You need to listen to the audio and you have to write the answers. First of all, go through all the questions and then listen to the audio. I'm playing the audio.
Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
So, to give you some idea of what's on, and to help you choose from the many possibilities, we've made a selection of the star attractions. If you're interested in classical music, then we recommend you go along to the National on either Monday or Tuesday evening at 7:30 for a spectacular production of The Magic Flute, probably the most popular of all Mozart's operas. It's in the Garden Hall, and tickets start at only £8, but you'll have to be early if you want to get them that cheap. And remember, it's only on for those 2 evenings. For those more interested in the cinema, you might like to see the new Canadian film, which is showing on Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. in Cinema 2. And that's called 3 Lives. It's had fantastic reviews, and tickets cost just £4.50, which is a reduction on the usual price of £5.50. So, it's really good value, especially for such a great movie. But you can see the centre's main attraction at the weekend, because on Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m, they're showing a wonderful new exhibition that hasn't been seen anywhere else in Europe yet. It's a collection of Chinese art called Faces of China. That's in Gallery 1, and it has some really fascinating paintings and sculptures by leading artists from all over China. And the good news is that it's completely free, so don't miss it. So why not go along to the National Arts Centre next week for one or all of these great events? And you can...
I hope you attempted all these questions. Now let's discuss the answers. The first question is the venue for the event that is happening on Monday and Tuesday. So the answer is straightforward. It is in the audio, that is Garden Hall. Garden Hall. And the second question is, what is the event that is taking place on Wednesday? So that's a Canadian film, that is 3 Lives. 3 Lives. And what is the ticket price of it? It is £4.50, which is a reduced price from £5.50. And the last question, what is the event that is taking place on Saturday and Sunday? So the event is Faces of China. Faces of China. You can write that down. And now pay attention to the heading. So it is mentioned no more than 3 words. Okay. Now you are allowed to write 1 word or 2 words or 3 words. It's up to you. You can, as per the answer, you can write 1 or 2 or 3 words at maximum. If the heading is given as 2 words, assume it is given as only 2 words, no more than 2 words, then you're not allowed to write 3 words. Only your choice is only 1 or 2 words. In those cases, you cannot write the garden house. You can only write garden house. Since we have 3 words, you can write the garden house. You can include an article. Anyway, but it works anyway here. be it garden house or the garden house, both are correct in this situation, but there comes situations where you have to include an article because you are allowed up until 3 words. Let's proceed further. This is the last type of question that we are going to discuss in listening section. This is sentence completion. As per the heading, you are not allowed to use more than 2 words. Therefore, the answer has to be either 1 word or 2 words. Now go through the questions once and then we can start the audio and you can answer the questions. I'm starting the audio.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was, did you find it hard studying with the Open University?
You mean because you're studying on your own most of the time? Well, it took me a while to get used to it. I found I needed to maintain a high level of motivation because it's so different from school. There's no one saying, "Why haven't you written your assignment yet?" and that sort of thing.
Oh, dear.
You'll learn it, Paul. Another thing was that I got very good at time management because I had to fit time for studying round a full-time job.
Well, I'm hoping to change to working part-time, so that'll help.
What makes it easier is that the degree is made up of modules, so you can take time off between them if you need to. It isn't like a traditional 3 or 4 year course where you've got to do the whole thing of it in one go.
Oh, that's good, because I'd like to spend 6 months travelling next year.
It's all right for some. Then, even though you're mostly studying at home, remember you've got tutors to help you, and from time to time there are summer schools. They usually last a week. They're great because you meet all the other people struggling with the same things as you.
Oh.
I've made some really good friends that way.
Sounds good. So how do I apply?
I hope you answered all these questions. Now let's discuss the answers. So the first question, studying in the Open University demands a great deal of. In the audio, there is not a mention of directly this sentence, but the lady speaker, mentioned that you need to maintain high levels of motivation to study in the Open University because there is no one else to push around if he is studying or if she is studying or not. So the answer for this question is to maintain high level of motivation. So the answer is motivation. And for the second question, studying and working at the same time improve Rachel's blank skills. So this improved time management skills, she mentioned in the audio directly. The third question, it was helpful that the course was structured in blank. The answer is modules. She mentioned that it's much better to have the course in modules than being a traditional 2 year or 3 year course. The last question, she enjoyed meeting other students ahead. So the answer is summer schools. Summer schools. She mentioned that she enjoyed meeting other people in the summer camps because everyone is struggling with the same problems that they face at the university. So these are the answers. So this is the end of all the types of questions that you might come across in the listening section. An important point here, the models or the types of questions that we have discussed so far are not the exhaustive list of all the questions that you will come across in IELTS. There will be a few more new changes or different types of questions. that you might come across in your examination, but predominantly these are the most important ones. And if you practice well enough all these models, and then you are definitely in a comfortable position to answer any sort of new types of questions. Now that all the models were discussed, we'll proceed with a few important tips to score well in listening section. So we finished discussing all these types of questions, that's multiple choice, matching, diagram and sentence completion, everything. And now we shall proceed with some important points. So the first and foremost point, it's very important, the audio is played only once. You don't have an option to pause the audio or repeat the audio. And the second point, in the listening section, almost 95% times, I must say 99% of the times, okay, the question and the audio are in the same order. When you're listening to the audio and trying to answer the questions, the answer for the first question will come up first, and then comes the second answer, then comes the third answer, and so on. And the third point, go through all the questions before the audio plays, so that when you listening to the audio, your mind will clearly tell you, okay, this is a word that I came across in the question, so it's important. Usage of necessary articles. This is an important case when you are allowed to write 3 words, and in those cases, if the word needs an article, be it a, an, or the, you must use them. And using capital letters for nouns is a must. Else, it might be considered as a wrong answer. I have explained this while we are solving the questions also. Always focus on the headings. What is the question asking for? What are the number of words that it allows? So in here we can observe, if the question is asking for one word only, in those cases your answer must only have one word. If it is mentioned 2 words only, then you need to write only 2 words. 3 words, then 3 words. And in the case no more than 2 words and or a number, in those cases you are allowed to write 1 word answer or 2 words answer. It's up to you as per the question. And when it is given no more than 3 words and or a number, so now you have a choice to write 1 word, 2 words, or 3 words depending upon the question. Now some tricky questions. In the audio, okay, let's start with the question and then discuss the audio. So the question is, when is the meeting? So in the audio, the answer for this question may not be direct, like 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or whatever. It could be indirect, like quarter to 9, not the direct time. In those cases, you need to write the appropriate time. Quarter to 9, it is 8:45. You might ask a question, why can't I write just quarter to 9 in spite of writing 8:45? Assume a case where the heading for this question is only 1 word or 2 words. In those cases, you're not supposed to write 3-word answer, right? You are limited to only 2 choices. Either it has to be 1-word answer or 2-word answer. In those cases, if you write quarter to 9, your answer is going to be wrong. Even though your answer is correct, it's going to be wrong. So you have to write 8:45. And the second question, how much does the apples cost? The note, it is apples, not singular, not apple. And in the audio, you may not have the cost for the apples. In the audio, it is mentioned we need 10 apples and each one costs $2. So now it's your responsibility to calculate the cost of total number of apples. So 10 multiplied by 2. So your answer must be $20, not $2. And the next question. The question is, when are they planning to move out? And you are allowed to write only one word as an answer. In the audio, it is mentioned today is Saturday and we are planning to move day after tomorrow. So that is Monday. You did not find the direct answer in the audio. You need to understand the context and then answer accordingly. This point I already mentioned while answering few questions previously. Always pay extra attention. Be careful when there are numeric values in the audio. When there is door number, pin code or a phone number, it's really important to be careful while answering those questions. Because if you miss out even one number, one digit, your answer is going to wrong. And similar sounding numbers like 13 and 30, 19 and 90. So in a hurry and in the stress of examination, you might answer these numbers in wrong order. Like you're supposed to answer 13, but in a stress you might answer it 30. So be careful when there are similar sounding numbers. This is a very common problem that almost everyone who's just starting out their preparation and trying to give the mock test will face. That is losing track of the audio. What I mean by losing track of the audio is you are answering 4th or 5th question and now you are about to answer 6th question. It's been 1 minute, 1.5 minute, but you are unable to answer the 6th question. The audio is going forward. And now you don't know whether you are stuck with the 6th question or the audio jump further. Perhaps the audio is in 8th question or 9th question. It often happens, especially when you're starting out. No need to panic if that happens. The best possible solution in those situations is skip some questions. Either skip 1 or 2 questions. It depends upon the time how much you lose track of. If you lose track of the audio for 30 seconds or 40 seconds, then leaving 2 or 3 questions is fine. So depending upon the time you lose track of the audio, you need to skip those questions and jump further and try answering the next questions. And once you catch the audio back on track, and you can proceed answering the further questions. And regarding the questions that you skipped earlier due to the losing track of audio, you can probably try remembering guessing some answers because we don't have negative marking in IELTS. Rather than leaving them blank, you can try writing some answer. It might go right and you can get some points. So this is all regarding the listening section of IELTS. I hope this is helpful for you. In the next video, we will discuss about reading.